All right, we have a stellar panel of guests joining us for a discussion, a threadbare analysis of the Pakistan election results. With me in the studio, to my left, is renowned journalist Shyam Bhatia. He's author and columnist, and the author of Bullets and Bylines from the Front Lines of Kabul, Delhi, Damascus, and beyond. Also with me in the studio is Ambassador Sharad Sabharwal, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. And joining us from New Delhi is analyst Jaydev Ranade, President of the Center for China Analysis and Studies. And from Lahore is journalist Amar Shaheen. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this bulletin here. May I begin by asking Mr. Bhatia for his initial thoughts on the election results. Now, you've followed the fortunes of Imran Khan, Benazir Bhutto, and even her brother Murtaza Bhutto for quite a number of years now. What do you make of the election results coming out of Pakistan, with PTI firmly in the lead as we speak?
Well, Ramesh, the most important thing is that this is a huge victory for the Pakistani army. The Pakistani army approved the PTI's candidates. It's only army-approved candidates who were allowed to stand. And the Pakistan army once again emerges as a victor. Let's not forget what this election is about. This election is about big business. The Pakistani army has hugely profited in the past from its maneuverings within the political arena.
Ambassador Sabharwal, is it a victory for the Pakistani army and Imran Khan as we speak? I mean, what would a Pakistan under Imran Khan mean for India?
Well, given the sort of run-up to this election that we saw, the election result was going to be anything but a reflection of the true will of the people. And we see that with the trends coming so far, it seems to be a hung assembly where Imran Khan also won't have a comfortable majority. He may need about 20 seats from other parties, from smaller groups and so on. To that extent, he'll be dependent even more on the army that could pull him down at any time should he try to break loose of their agenda. And I would agree with Mr. Bhatia that this is the victor is the army and the loser is the Pakistani democracy. Let's not forget that Imran Khan's party was founded in 1996 and he had failed to make a mark. He won a lone seat in 2002 election. And then suddenly 2011 onwards, his party was built up by the army. Large crowds went to his rallies, which were arranged by them. A number of politicians close to the army gravitated towards him. And that was all done to deny power to Nawaz Sharif in 2013. 2013, he could not deliver, but this time he seems to be delivering, courtesy the army. Your last question, what does it mean for India? I would say more of the same. More of the same because it remains a state controlled by the army. It was controlled by the army earlier. It will continue to be so now. The only difference was that Nawaz Sharif resisted the army. He tried from time to time to wrest control of foreign and security policy from them. The new Prime Minister, should it be Imran Khan or anyone else, will not do even that. So, more of the same for us.
Right. Mr. Ranade, Ambassador Sabharwal seems to indicate that expect no change going forward, because the Pakistani army will remain the constant in Pakistani politics. But talking about Imran Khan himself, now he's seen as by many around the world as a proxy of the Pakistani army. Some give him the moniker of Taliban Khan. Now, what would that mean for India's efforts to bring stability in the extended neighborhood, including Afghanistan, and the prospective talks with the Taliban there?
Well, I think after these elections, it's quite clear that the Pakistani army has a couple of agendas that are now quite open. The first is that it wants a more, shall I say, pliable government in Pakistan, one that will be more sensitive to its requirements and its demands. And I think it will get that under Imran Khan. The second is that its concern about Afghanistan, its desire to control Afghanistan, will gain a higher profile with the government backing it entirely. So there will be no differences between the two of them there. I think in sum, what we are seeing is a Pakistan army-backed PTI or Imran Khan coming to power, but it will be a weak government most probably. It also has the backing of a number of the religious tanzeems of the jihadi groups who are supporting Imran Khan. So I would expect that the problems for us in Kashmir would get a sharper edge and Imran Khan would work on on that, along with the Pakistan Army. At the same time, he might make some noises about wanting a peaceful peace with India, but I think in reality there will be greater thrust given to Kashmir, albeit covertly.
Right, if I can come to you, Amr, now. Amr, what does Naya Pakistan look like this Thursday morning for you?
Well, this Thursday morning, the way it looks like, the circumstances in my country, I think, are very dangerous right now. I would like to talk a little bit about the rigging that has just taken place and is taking place as we speak right now. I was on your show last night, and I talked about the fact that the way elections were held, it was every time elections are held, the rigging takes place in a different, completely evolved manner. This time, the way they were going to do it is the general public goes and they vote for whoever they want to vote. It's a safe environment, it's an open environment. And then as soon as the polling is closed, that's when the whole trick happens. When I went to vote, they searched me 3 times that if I'm carrying a mobile phone. That's all they cared about, no mobile phones. And as soon as the polling was stopped, media people who were legally allowed to be in the polling stations were kicked out. Many polling stations, the polling agents, the political agents who were supposed to be there to make sure that no rigging takes place against their political party, they were kicked out. And the whole process that has been followed throughout Pakistan's history, that a full and final form is given to every party's polling agent with a final result, that was not provided. So the election results started coming in, and the only election constituencies in which the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf was winning, those results were not delayed. Other results, for example, from big cities, so results from faraway villages were coming in, but results from big cities like Lahore and Karachi were not coming in. And for the first time, we have seen that Tehreek-e-Insaf had only 1 seat, for example, in Karachi, 1 seat in the whole of Lahore. And now they have almost majority in these cities. And it cannot be explained how results are delayed when their main centers are in Karachi or Lahore, but you can have it from interior Sindh, from KPK, really far away places. So as soon as those results are coming in now, we can see all the maneuvering. And right now, I think it's going to be maneuvered even more so that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf would not need to form a coalition. It wouldn't need to form a coalition apart from the coalition that is already in place, the Grand Democratic Alliance, set up allegedly by the military. So this is what my Pakistan looks like today in the morning. And this is the defining moment. Just to add to your report, it's not just PMLN or Pakistan People's Party who have come out and condemned what I just explained. It is also MQM, which was supposed to ally with Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. It's Pak Sarzameen's party, which is also seen as a pro-establishment party. Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, the pro-murder political party, far extreme right. Jamaat-e-Islami, Jamiyat-e-Ulama-Islam. And guess what? PTI Karachi president has come out in a video and condemned the fact that these results are being delayed and the full and final results are not being given to the candidates. So it's almost every political party. It's not just the 2 parties who've been sidelined massively. It's almost every political party of the PTI.
Right, Amr, it's good you raised the issue of rigging in the elections. Now, we heard from Shahbaz Sharif. He says he rejects the results due to manifest and massive irregularities. PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari also says that he's not received any official results from the election officials, and he says it is inexcusable and outrageous. So if I can come to my guest in the story one more time, Mr. Bhatia and Ambassador Sabharwal, how credible will these elections be given the fact that there's a massive allegation of rigging, and plus the fact that the main opposition leader has been removed from the equation, so to speak? So how credible do you think these elections were?
Well, clearly the elections are not particularly credible. But what they do is they provide an opportunity for the army to step in, because if the opposition parties start to fight the ultimate victor, which is to say Imran Khan, then there will be unrest in the country, and obviously that will provide an opportunity for the army to step in and start to control the country blatantly rather than indirectly through their preferred candidates of choice.
Ambassador Sabharwal, you think this script was written beforehand and only the polling remained to be done yesterday?
I think so, because, starting with disqualification of Nawaz Sharif on very flimsy and subjective grounds, which can be evoked by the deep state against any uncomfortable politician, then the selective accountability at a lightning speed for Pakistan's justice system against him to convict him before the election and remove him from the election campaign, putting up candidates of religious parties. I believe that was done essentially to erode Nawaz Sharif's vote in Punjab and not necessarily to give them seats in the National Assembly. I don't have a sense of how they are doing, but that was the essential purpose. Then intimidation of the press, attempts to split PMLN, that all was a pointer to the fact that it was going to be anything but a fair election. So what kind of credibility would it have? And I would agree with you that the script was almost written beforehand and it was only to be implemented then.
Mr. Ranade, if I can ask the same question now, how credible you think these elections were? Because some people say the media clamped down, the media bans and the curbs, the intimidation of PMLN candidates to make them either stand down or contest from PTI banner. I mean, how do you think this election will be seen around the world, especially in India and in the US?
Well, I agree with the previous two commentators. I think it will be a cloud which will be hanging over the election results, and there will be serious doubts in various world capitals about how the elections were conducted. But I do feel that as far as the Pakistan Army is concerned, they would prefer not to get involved directly, but would like a weak government so that they can operate from behind the scenes. At the same time, this cloud of uncertainty that has come out, or cloud of doubt that hangs over these elections, give the opposition politicians a chance to try and mobilize public opinion against Imran Khan and the PTI. So let's see what unfolds in the days to come. We could see some restiveness in Pakistan, if not a high degree of restiveness.
Right. If I can come to my studio guest one more time. Mr. Bhatia, now you've seen and studied the persona and the personalities of Imran Khan and Benazir and others, the contemporaries, for quite some time now. Explain to us and the WION viewer what an Imran Khan would portend for countries in the neighborhood, especially India, because you've known him from very close quarters.
Well, I won't say very close quarters, but Ramesh, Imran and I were at Oxford at the same time. He was a little bit junior to me. Imran Khan is one of the world's most superb sportsmen. He was a wonderful captain of the Pakistan cricket team. Having said that, he is not the brightest boy in the block. He emerged with a very poor third-class degree from Oxford. It makes him much easier to control. I remember when we used to joke with him, his interest was, can you introduce me to any Hindu girls? And this Hindu bias has been there throughout the election. It's not been openly voiced by the candidates, but those of us who speak and understand Punjabi and follow the television channels have been quite shocked by this religious polarization that's going on in Pakistan, and Imran Khan is very much part of that. I don't know how much of a mind he has of his own. I think he will allow himself to be manipulated. Someone who's not particularly bright, someone who's not all that well versed in international politics can be manipulated extremely easily.
Right. I want to take a moment or two to talk about the Pakistani army now. Pakistan's most powerful political party wears a uniform, commands more than 500,000 loyal, disciplined followers, and has at its disposal arms and equipment of every description, including nuclear weapons. We are talking about the Pakistani army that many say is the de facto head of the state, and there is no denying that apart from guarding the country's frontiers, it plays a decisive role in the elections too. All right, my guests continue to remain with us on this bulletin. If I can go across to Ahmer Shaheen in Lahore one more time. Ahmer, my guest in the studio, Mr. Sham Bhatia, says it's victory for the Pakistani army. Ambassador Sabharwal says expect more of the same going forward. There'll be not much change in Pakistan's disposition or attitude towards India. And Mr. Ranade says one can expect an uptick in tensions with India over the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, given Imran Khan's propensity or dalliance with the Taliban and other groups. In your estimation, if the army is a constant in this equation, should one expect any change at all in Pakistan's attitude towards India going forward, with or without Imran Khan?
Let me, because you're asking a Pakistani living in Pakistan about the Pakistani army, let me just say that it's not. I don't want to comment on the Pakistani military except for its role in politics and its influence on media. And as far as Kashmir is concerned, I think the basic human rights of Kashmiris should be respected and given. Having said that, I want to say that the Pakistani military, when you talk about the military regimes, I personally feel that the situation between India and Pakistan during military regimes is sometimes much better because they trust themselves more to deal with India rather than a politically elected government, because usually civilians are seen as incompetent and not up to the mark. If you remember Musharraf's regime, Musharraf was allowed to be more friendly to India, given the fact that Kargil happened when Nawaz Sharif was the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So when Nawaz Sharif was the Prime Minister and Musharraf was the Chief of Army Staff, Kargil was happening. But as soon as Musharraf takes over the reins of the country, Musharraf is visiting his home back in India, and he's talking to Indians, and he's talking about how friendliness is important. So not necessarily if the military or military-backed political parties are in power, the things would be worse between the two countries. The things will never be as good as, that we don't need any kind of military intervention or safeguard. It would always be a range of very good and not too bad, so that the military is needed on both sides of the border, and that's how the military industry works globally. I think the contact between Pakistan and India sometimes is even better during military regimes. Not that I am supporting military regimes.
Right, and taking off from where Amr left, Ambassador Sabharwal, you've served in Pakistan, you've seen the Pakistani so-called deep state from very close quarters. Now, even on the day of polling yesterday, Imran Khan says Prime Minister Modi liked Nawaz Sharif, the Indian media liked Nawaz Sharif, the Indian government liked Nawaz Sharif, and they would want him to continue to remain in power in one way or another. In your estimation, now that the election results are coming thick and fast, can Imran Khan, as the probable next Prime Minister of Pakistan, and Prime Minister Modi in the immediate term get along?
Well, it depends upon many other factors how things shape up, because there have been tensions in the last few years. Can we resolve some of those issues? I would say that I interacted with him when I was High Commissioner there, and I found
How did that go?
Sorry?
Just explain to a viewer, how did that interaction with him, what was your assessment of him?
That's right. That's what I was going to say. And he always spoke of good relations with India. He didn't have clarity on all the issues, on all various promises that he made towards India or what he would do with Pakistan. This I'm talking of 2011-12. He also came to an India-Pakistan business conference in Lahore, a big business conference which took place there. And he spoke of the need for better relations. He also alluded to the discussions that had taken place on Kashmir during the Musharraf era. And he said that his party vice president then, Khurshid Kasuri, who's the foreign minister during the Musharraf era, he said he had briefed him about what had been discussed and so on. Why could things move forward to resolve Kashmir? But at the same time, one also found that he was hobnobbing with the likes of Hafiz Saeed, the 5 Pakistan Council, which was founded then because the army had closed NATO supply routes to Afghanistan. He used to send representatives to their rallies and so on. So it was a very ambivalent position. I won't read too much into a new government, whether it's Imran Khan, whoever it is, what he would do. I would again be looking at the real power center, the people who control them.
Absolutely.
What would they want to do? If you look at his manifesto, it speaks of resolution of Kashmir as a core national interest of Pakistan. It talks of resolution in keeping with the UN Security Council resolutions, which many other parties do because this is their national position. But it also talks of conflict resolution and security route to peace. I don't know what that security route means, but giving primacy to conflict resolution to the exclusion of cooperative aspects of the relationship, such as trade and transit. I think this manifesto of PTI couldn't have captured the army's agenda any better. So the point that I was making was that they will continue to control the situation. What they wish to do would determine how we move forward.
And Mr. Bhatia, Imran Khan also accuses Prime Minister Modi by name of trying to scapegoat Pakistan on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. So if that is the position from where Imran Khan is coming from, should we be anxious or not?
Ramesh, if I may just say, I agree with Ambassador Sabharwal. I don't think Kashmir is relevant to this. I'm sorry to be cynical about it. I think it goes back to basically big business. Let us not forget, the army, the pot-bellied generals of the Pakistani army profited hugely from the nuclear technology theft from Urenco years ago. The new weapon of choice is Novichok, a nerve agent. Are we going to see Pakistani generals getting plane loads of money because they start to make Novichok now in Pakistan and re-export it to other countries? These are the issues we should be looking for. And this is what India should be concerned about. Is Imran Khan going to allow himself to be used by the Pakistani army to do all kinds of strange things? Will he legitimize their operations behind the scenes? That's what we should be worried about here in India.
And if what we've discussing so far is true, then one should not expect too much change in Pakistan's attitude towards terror groups, be those directed against India or Afghanistan, Ambassador Sabharwal?
Well, you know, I say that there is no direct correlation between the result of this election and what happens to terror against us in Kashmir, because it's not the civilian government which is going to determine it. That's an activity which has been calibrated by the Pakistan army. You know, they have increased it a little, reduced it as a tactical position, and that would continue. So I wouldn't necessarily think that it would lead to a spike in terrorism against us. We have to see how the situation develops and what view the army takes eventually.
Mr. Ranade, if I can come to you now, we saw that India was conspicuous with its absence in the discourse leading up to the 2013 elections, the last elections in Pakistan. But this time, we saw India being woven in the narrative, so to speak, by both parties. What do you make of that change in disposition, attitude towards India in those election discourse in Pakistan?
Well, I think a couple of points do come out here. One is Imran Khan's own position and utterances, where in some of the speeches that he made, which I came across, he was rather clear or rather categoric on his views about our government here, present government and Prime Minister Modi, as also on the Kashmir issue. So I think what we are going to see is, while the Pakistan army has its own views about Kashmir and India, Imran Khan's views are going to match them and probably give a fillip to some of his supporters, like the religious tanzeems who are backing him. Second, I think as far as Imran Khan is concerned, he is talking about business, but what the army and he will have to grapple with is are issues like the China-Pakistan economic corridor and the benefits that they're supposed to bring to the Pakistani people, which they haven't. I'm sure that the Pakistan army people who have subcontracted or who have got subcontracts, etc., have benefited, but the common man has not, and I think that may be an issue that will come up. They'll need to divert the minds there. So I certainly do expect that there will be, the Pakistan army always has a view on Kashmir, but I think we might see an uptick, if nothing else, because Imran Khan will try and build up a constituency now that he gets power.
All right, Raymond E. Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce and Trade and Development, joins us live from Washington. Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion. We are analyzing the Pakistani election results. Now, Imran Khan is set to become the next Prime Minister of Pakistan. Your perspective on what this might mean for the US and the world at large?
Well, first of all, I think that it's important to recognize that India and the United States are really the two greatest democracies in the world. And so we have a stake in seeing that democracy succeeds in Pakistan and around the world. But that having been said, democracy is about more than just an election. It's about institutions, and one of those institutions has to be a civilian control of the military. And I think that there are some concerns here in Washington about whether or not Mr. Imran Khan will really be able to stand up to the Pakistani military, which unfortunately has a paranoia about India and a developing paranoia about the U.S. So that having been said, it seems to me we have a new element of uncertainty here, a person who really hasn't had any experience in government. So yes, there's concern. But where there's concern, there's also opportunity for India and the United States. So I think it behooves both of us to work together to see if there is some opening, something that can be done to make progress to change the situation. This is certainly a new deck of cards, if you will, with Imran Khan, and we've got to play out our hand.
Right, new deck of cards, says Raymond Vickery from Washington. Mr. Vickery, if I can probe you further on this point. Now, Imran Khan, in an interview recently, and which was accessed by WION, says Pakistan under him would not like to be the hired gun of America in the region. Now, would that pose problems for the US going forward, you think?
Well, it certainly indicates a lack of willingness to cooperate. Nobody in the U.S. is asking Pakistan or anybody else to be a hired gun. What we are asking is for Pakistan to do what's in their own interest. And in their own interest is defeating terrorism. Pakistan is not really a coherent country at this point, because it has threats from terrorism and it has elements within Pakistan that are trying to do cross-border terrorism with India. So I think that it's not proper to say anything about hired gun. The question is, how can we stand together to defeat radical Islamic terrorism? And that goes in Pakistan as well as around the world. So yes, there's some concern here, but you know, the reality is that Pakistan is an emerging democracy, and that the military has had an outsized influence in regard to what happens. It may be that some of the varnish is taken off by the election of Imran Khan, but the situation remains very much the same, and that is that the Pakistan military has to come to grips with the fact that they should be controlled by civilian forces and that they have an interest in peace and stability, as opposed to allowing terrorism to take place and providing a haven in Pakistan for what happens in Afghanistan as well as what happens in Kashmir.
And very quickly, Mr. Vickery, we don't know much, there's not much clarity about what Imran Khan's foreign policy might be immediately going forward. Now, we've heard him speak about or raise concerns about the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project, but how do you reckon his position will be vis-a-vis China going forward?
Well, I'm afraid that with this economic corridor and what has happened already, that Pakistan is in a very difficult position, similar to that which occurred in Sri Lanka, where China is allowed to come in and have an outsized influence by lending of money on rates which are not sustainable in the long run. Unfortunately, Pakistan, instead of seeing where its real interests lie, and that is with other democracies, is looking to China as some sort of alternative. But China is not able to do what can be done through the IMF, through international institutions that work worldwide. And I think Mr. Khan is going to have to go through an education process in regard to China and in regard to what happens in international relations. He doesn't really have any kind of experience. What he has is slogans, but that has happened before. It's happened in our own country. And what we need to be able to do is to work with him until he proves that he can't work in a cooperative and positive manner. But the relationship with China is very much a concern. It's very much a concern for India and the United States, because China has been outside the rules, outside legal process in terms of what it wants to do around the world. And that's just not sustainable. And we have to be able to get the United States and India to take advantage of whatever opportunities there are, but to stand firm where our interests are affected.
Right, I'll ask my guests to stay on. Earlier we spoke about what Imran Khan said about India yesterday, and earlier we spoke with journalist Imran Khan's ex-wife Reham Khan over Imran Khan's statement about India. Listen in.
50-second statement from your former husband. He talks about the Indian media, the Indian Prime Minister, the Pakistani army, the former Pakistani Prime Minister, his so-called relationship with India and the Indian media. I'm trying to figure out what exactly was the big sentiment or statement over here that he was trying to drive home.
Well, I mean, listening to this, I don't know what is, I'm cringing, you know, if ever in a hole, just dig deeper. I don't know why he feels that he has to be on this self-destructive path, and why does he feel the need to say those things? I could just say that it's probably frustration, but I know for a fact that it's whatever he's told to say, and you know, it's not. I think the problem is that at this time we need strong leadership, and if you have someone who appears to be spineless and who appears to be fed bits of info and then just regurgitates that, it's just very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing to say that. Of course, he owes Indian media and Indian governments and India as well as you know, all his fans a lot of why he is a celebrity, and I think one shouldn't forget that, but also I don't think that the Indian media or the Indian fans have forgotten, as of course we haven't forgotten in Pakistan, how anti-establishment he can be when he wants to be. So this is just embarrassing, and this is not something which is seen as a reliable ally. I don't think that the establishment sees him as reliable either. So I don't think that that they've just probably, because there is not a lot of choice, Bilawal perhaps is too new in the political arena, and Zardari of course did not want to step aside. This could have been possibly another option. This could have been another option for them. But for Imran to say this and to say it today, it just seems like he is desperately trying to please those who he thinks can put him in power. And that's what it sounds like. Everyone knows that's what it sounds like. And he really needs to be guided by more sincere people, where he should not be making these mistakes. Clearly, I mean, if it's not all the things that we've seen all day today, you really don't need a critic. You really do not need anyone to harm Imran. Imran is enough. He's on a path of self-harm.
Sure.
And I think nobody is sincere enough, or maybe even competent enough, to guide him. I mean, the sort of things that we've seen all morning, who is to blame? Of course, the man himself is to blame, but surely there should be a team of advisors maybe guiding him, maybe even guiding him to go behind a screen to vote.
And we also spoke to former Pakistan Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani Khar, who says that her party stands for peace with India. Listen in.
You see, I think if you look at track records, I am the former foreign minister from the Pakistan People's Party. I'm still contesting on their ticket, so I will have a biased opinion. But if you look at our track record, I think the People's Party is the only party which has the will and the tenacity to be able to go for what is best for the country rather than go for what is popular. I think Mr. Imran Khan has shown that he will go for whatever is popular, even if it is not good for the country. I think the Sharif's record in the last few years clearly has not been very good. So on that, unequivocally, I mean, if you're asking me, I have to give you my personal opinion. And my personal opinion is that no other party other than the Pakistan People's Party can deliver to Pakistan the issues which are at the heart of the problems that we face.
All right, if I can come to my guests in the studio one more time, Mr. Bhatia and Ambassador Sabharwal. Gentlemen, if the numbers are anything to go by, PTI is emerging as the single largest party, but without absolute majority, which means Imran Khan will have to shore up numbers by tying up with other smaller parties. Would that constrict his maneuverability going forward, you think?
Well, you know, people have been talking, and I think one of your reports was saying that PPP may be the kingmaker. PPP was put on notice because a money laundering case was registered recently against Zardari to put him on notice that should he be needed. But I believe they'll organize some smaller parties, you know, some loose elements from Balochistan, some religious elements and so on. The army will put it together. So 20 odd seats won't be a problem. But as I said, he hasn't got a comfortable majority.
Right.
Now, should he try to break loose of the army agenda at some stage, which he may, because after all, he's also...
Why do you say that? I'm just intrigued by your assessment that he may be his own man. Why do you say that?
Because while he didn't come across someone who was very clear about everything that he promised and so on, he also comes across someone who holds to his views, who has strong views. And this has been the history of all Pakistani politicians. Nawaz Sharif, you know, he was a creation of the army. But as he went forward, you know, at some stage he realized that he wanted to do things which he wasn't being permitted to do. And that's when he started charting out his independent course. So I was saying, should he decide at some stage, he will know what fate awaits him. But in this case, it will be much easier for the army to bring him down. So numbers count to that extent. But if I may make one more point, you know, I wasn't looking so much at who becomes Prime Minister, because according to me, it will be more of the same.
In Pakistan, doesn't matter, you think?
It doesn't, you know, so long as the army holds the power. Now, two things I was looking for. One, what kind of vote and seats do the religious parties, not only religious but extremist / terrorist parties get? I don't have a sense, as I told you, amongst others, what is their number. But I think they had been brought in essentially to cut into Nawaz Sharif's vote. The second is, what kind of vote does PMLN get? Don't forget that there is a noticeable constituency within Pakistan which challenges the narrative of the army. And Nawaz Sharif has become their voice. He has come to represent them. This is what, you know, Imran Khan was also saying, they're trying to tarnish the image of the party and so on and so forth. So even if they get 50, 60 seats, that would be some hope for this constituency. Because if ever civil-military imbalance is to be redressed in Pakistan, it will be a slow process. It can't be an overnight process. I don't see the army giving up its control overnight. It will be a slow process. But if ever it happens, it will be because of this constituency. So in that sense, amongst many negative things about this election, if PMLN eventually ends up with 50, 60, 70 seats in the National Assembly, that will be a positive indicator from this point of view.
Absolutely. Ahmad Shahi, if I can come to you now, I mean, how do you read the performance of the smaller fringe parties, the right-wing religious / terrorist parties, as Ambassador Sabharwal calls them? How do you see the performance? Also, will Imran Khan in the long run be his own man going forward, or you think he will be very much ensconced in the lap of the Pakistani deep state?
That's one of the other surprising outcomes that although they've been able to cut some vote, none of the far-right extremist parties so far have been able to secure lead in any National Assembly constituency. So the card that they could have been used to form an alliance for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that card hasn't been used. But Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf does not need any new alliances. Having said that, Pakistan Muslim League Q, the King's Party, and the Grand Democratic Alliance, which was formed against the Pakistan People's Party in Sindh, are already allies. They've done their public events together. So there's no new alliances to be formed in order to give them a simple majority. Those alliances were formed before the elections. Talking about Imran Khan and what I see, like your guest from the US said, that he doesn't have any experience for the job. He talks without thinking. That's what I think. And he's all about alternate facts. He takes U-turns. He makes impossible claims, huge commitments that are impossible. So he's Pakistan's Donald Trump. And what do you expect from Donald Trump? Absolutely nothing and everything.
Right, Mr. Vikri, I'm told you want to join in the discussion. Please go ahead. Also, if you can very quickly answer the question about would you think Imran Khan would be his own man going forward, or you think he'll ply the Pakistani army as well?
Well, unfortunately, President Trump's name has been injected into this, but there are parallels, of course, in terms of people not having any experience and not knowing that it's not just about them. It's about what the institution does and how you have to build coalition and bridges for policy as well as political purposes. And that's a real weakness in regard to Mr. Imran Khan. He doesn't have that. Now, that having been said, I think that you could hypothesize that there is some light in regard to the fact that in the past he's been so radically anti-corruption, yes. And that's what he's been founded on. Now, if he really will follow through that, the Pakistani government and establishment has a huge corruption problem, obviously. And if he would follow what he started out with in that regard, then that could be helpful and provide some openings for a rationality which has not always been there in Pakistani politics.
All right, on that note, Raymond Vikri in Washington, Ahmad Shaheen in Lahore, Sham Bhatia and Ambassador Sabarwal in my studios. Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion. Appreciate it.